All right. Hello, everyone. All right. I know this is the last session of the day, and all you guys are thinking about heading out, but I think you can do better than that. So let's try this again. Hello, everyone. Hello. Much better. Thank you. My name is Bharat Ahluwalia. I am the CTO of Studio 216. We are an agency based out of Seattle, and we do a lot of work for the AEC industry. And I guess that's why I'm here talking to you about it. What am I going to be covering today? I have a clicker. So we'll start with a quick, brief introductions to Studio 216. So it kind of gives you an idea of what, who we are, what kind of work we do, what kind of clients we serve, and provide you the context of the company and to some extent about this presentation. Then we will move on to the work we are doing. We have some case studies that we will go through. From the case studies, we will graduate to insights and learnings that we have derived from all the work that we have done for this industry. We will then spend a few minutes talking about our enterprise XR platform called Altura that's in beta. And if anyone here is looking to build enterprise XR applications, please reach out. We might have a platform that could be very useful to you. We are going to end the session with a look ahead with what we feel the future holds for this industry and specifically XR in this industry. And that's how we will end the session. To start off, I'm going to play a quick video about Studio 216. There's a fair amount of videos in my presentation. I was actually thinking of doing live demos, but the relationship between demo gods and me is right now not really good. So we are going to do just videos. All right, that should give you some idea of the kind of work we do and the platforms we target. A little bit background, we have been in business since 2005. Studio 216 was started by architects, physical architects who design buildings, not software architects. And very early on, they realized that being able to do visualization of their designs in 3D was going to be a pretty lucrative business, which is why they left their cushy jobs as architects and created this company. And that actually defines us to some extent. Unlike a lot of other companies, we come into this business with a content-first DNA. We've been doing content for the last 13 years, and that's something that we really understand as to how to create really good visuals and still be able to optimize them so that they can be run on devices that have, let's just say, mobile level of compute and graphic processing capabilities. We moved into VR pretty early. As soon as VR kind of came on, we realized that this was a great way to showcase all the content that we have been developing. And it was this work that got us to the attention of Microsoft, who invited us to be among the first HoloLens agency partners when they had just started rolling out the program. And recently, we have been investing in this enterprise AR platform called Altura, and we will cover a little bit about that later on in the slide deck. We work across a range of clients. We, of course, have Microsoft. We've done multiple experiences for Microsoft. We have worked with Amazon, worked with large construction companies like Skanska, worked with large property developers like Vulcan, but we also work with smaller scale property developers and architecture firms. So we kind of have worked across a spread of clients. And that's where a lot of our learnings have come from as to what is common across experiences that work for property developers that are developing 5 townhomes in Seattle, all the way to somebody like Vulcan, which has developed a huge number of buildings in the South Lake Union area in Seattle. So let's move on to what are the scenarios that we are seeing get traction in this industry. So the first one, of course, is marketing properties before they are built. This is huge. Property developers love to be able to show what they are building very initially to their investors who they're looking to raise money for to build that property. And then over time, show it to prospect clients and do pre-sales, because that's a great way to continuously finance this operation. I'm going to take 2 case studies here. And the first one is going to be actually not really marketing for pre-sales. Microsoft, as I don't know how many of you are from Seattle, but Microsoft is doing a pretty big campus refresh of their facilities. They're taking some of their older buildings and replacing them with newer, more modern buildings. And they're not looking for investment. They are not looking to sell the space, but they are still looking to market this to their own employees to get them excited about the new buildings coming up and provide them information about what to expect as these buildings are built and what to expect once they are built. So we built an experience for Microsoft. It's actually a mobile app, and let's start with another video for this. So this one has no soundtrack, but I will speak over it. And so the first thing you will notice is that there is this card. You don't see it, it's a pretty thick, really nice card. It's got a QR code on the flip side where you scan and it directs you to the App Store, so you can download the app. Once you have the app, you look at this image through the app. This image is actually a line diagram of the street map where the buildings are being built. So as you look at it through your phone, through the app, what you see is this. So it gives you an idea of what the new buildings will look like. Additionally, we created panoramas to give you a sense of what this space will look like if you were standing inside that space once it's completed. It also can provide information about amenities of what to expect, like there's a cricket field, there's a soccer field, there are parks, etc. So this experience, gives information in a very compelling manner and in a wow factor. And this was something that was very successful both for Microsoft and for us, because it has been one of our showcases. Oops, I think I wanted to move to the next slide. All right, case study 2. This is much more a classic market property before it's built. There's a property called Arrive coming up in Seattle. It's in downtown Seattle, and the developers wanted to market that. It is coming up in a neighborhood with other buildings, and they wanted to showcase how this building would fit into that neighborhood, and as well as what are the amenities, but also showcase within one unit what are the views you would get, because this is very close to Puget Sound, so you have some awesome views. And I have a video for this as well. So you can see in the beginning of the experience, you have this visual that gives you an idea of the neighborhood. The buildings are kind of gray massing, so you don't get a fully textured neighborhood, but you get a sense because of the shape of the buildings. but the arrayway building itself is fully textured. And then as the experience progresses, you can see the building in more detail and then see units and then see from within one unit what the views are, what kind of finishes that you're going to get in that unit. Let's move to scenario number 2. I think of the first one as a mass market scenario. You're marketing, you want to reach as wide an audience as possible. And for that, mobile is great. You know, we also have a web-based solution, that's great too. That reaches the largest number of people. But then some of those people will get more excited than the other. They are looking to buy units. They are going to come to your to your sales center. And that's where the next experience is awesome. This is where you bring headsets into play, because not everybody has a headset at home, but they are visiting you. They're visiting your sales center. You can have headsets there, and now you can build really great, compelling experiences within the headset that people can try on and feel like they're in the unit, and they can, you know, discuss options, discuss pricing, etc. I call this collaborative because you want the salesperson to be in the virtual space with them as well. What we have seen is people love to wear the headset and walk around, and it's great. They're happy. You know, the smiles come immediately. They're like, oh, this is so cool. We try to get them to change options using either the A-tap gesture or the controllers. You have to train them for some time. But if you have a salesperson in the headset who's already trained, they can do those option changes, and the person, you know, your client is just kind of more passive audience. And so let's go through some case studies for this. We built an experience for a co-working company in San Francisco. One of their key, let's say, USPs was that they allowed you to customize your space. So if you went in and were searching for a space for your company, you could take 3 of the spaces, move the walls around, move furniture around, and create a flow that you felt worked well with your team. So they wanted to showcase that experience. And here is a video that we built for them. Sorry, a case study that we built, experience we built for them, and a video of that. So you're in that space. This is a HoloLens experience. You can place different types of furnitures like lounges and tables. You can move it around. You can rotate it very simply. And that allows you to place the furniture like, you know, in a way that you feel works really well. But then you can also take out wall panels and get a sense of what that space would look like. What you're seeing here is what we call a dollhouse model. So this is always with you when you're in our experience. So not only can you see the changes you're making, how it affects you in real scale. So if I'm looking around and I'm taking out these walls, I can see how that feels to me. But I can also look down and see how that feels or how that works with the overall plan of that space. So you can decide whether this, you know, could potentially block movement or have problems in some other office space. So you get both those experiences. And this model of being able to be in the space at real scale, but also have a miniature model that you can see your changes in, has really worked out well for us. It gives way better context to a client than just being in the real space. The second case study here is something we have just started, but I'm super excited about this one. I can't name clients under NDA, but they're one of the biggest home builders in the country. And what they do today is they build 3 to 4 model homes in each of their community. And what they want to do is see if this experience helps them bring that cost down. Now, very smartly, they are not thinking of eliminating model homes. That will not work. But they want to go down to just building 1 model home. So you still have a place where people come and visit, and they can walk around like they've done for years and get a sense of how clean the construction is, what the premium options feel like. But then they have these headsets in the model home where you can wear the headsets and walk through a model house of a different plan with different finishes. They can also be standing outside and get an idea of what the exterior elevation will look like with different options. So that's what we built for them. We are building an experience that allows users to feel like they're standing outside, change the options of the exterior, the paint colors, and then go inside the house and change options like the backsplash or the granite or the floor. Today, if you go down to these model homes, you get these single tiles and say, okay, imagine what this would look like on the backsplash. Yeah, that's really hard to imagine, but if you're in a virtual reality headset, you can actually experience it and see how that would look like. And this is in addition to the model home, not trying to replace it. But if they can bring down that cost of building one model home rather than 3 to 4, that just pays for this experience by itself in no time at all. Third scenario that we've seen work out really well is design reviews. So case study, yet another NDA client, so cannot share names, but they are building a hotel actually in Los Angeles somewhere. And their 3 teams, their architects, their interior designers, and the developer themselves are based in 3 different locations across the country. And today, how they do design reviews is you have the interior designer take, design the space, put cameras in a few places, take renderings, mail the renderings to the developer who takes a printout, scribbles on it, like what changes they want, and mails it back to them. And I guess it works. It has worked for many years, but it can be so much more better if you take extended reality into account. So what we are trying to do is help them visualize complete spaces and walk together in those spaces, even though they are in 3 different locations. And one of the added benefit that they're excited about is, do the design reviews. That's great. That's super useful. But as the design gets finalized, they want to use that finalized content to generate marketing experiences as well. So it's, it's much better ROI if you can reuse work across different channels. So not only design review, but even for marketing. So we built a solution for them, again, on top of our Altura platform. It supports multiple devices. So design reviews, one of the key things about design reviews is you don't have time to optimize and process it for it to fit into, say, a HoloLens. That takes days. So, and these are pretty large spaces. So what we do is for design reviews, we support Windows mixed reality headsets and standard laptops or desktops that you can navigate these spaces through, like if you were doing it in a video game. So you still can do very quick revisions. You make a design change, you upload it to our cloud, it's immediately available. You can walk through it, get some changes, feedback from the developer, make the changes, re-upload it to the cloud, and you can be walking through it in minutes. Once it starts to finalize, certain spaces start to finalize, and now you want to show it to your investor to, get them to raise money from, you can now optimize that part, take a day or 2 to optimize it to a more portable experience like the HoloLens that your sales team can carry over to the investor's office and show it to them. So what we've done is we've adapted the hardware that is needed to the scenarios that were designed by our client. This is the last scenario. We've seen this work out really well again. This is more for engineering and construction companies where they move equipment around and create new structures in new places. And one of the problems that they've always seen is, does the equipment fit the surroundings we are taking it in? So, NDA client, but unlike other experiences, this was an outdoor experience. So they wanted it to be in the field. They have really large pieces of equipment that they wanted to be able to place in the field around them and see how well they can work together, or they can't. And they just wanted to get a better understanding of that. And here is a video of that. So if you notice in the experience, while it's a different experience, it's an outdoor experience, it still has that dollhouse model, and that again works really well. You can get a bird's eye view of how the equipment is laid out around you. You can move the equipment. I don't know if you noticed that the equipment turned red when the person was moving it, and that was just to kind of give an indication that it won't fit in this area because it's overlapping with another piece of equipment. The other thing that I wanted to call out here is that we built a teleportation experience here because this was an outdoor space, much larger than standard indoor spaces. So you don't want to be able, you can't really walk from one place to another place. So you had these flag poles that you could click on and be teleported to that area. All right, that was the last scenario. And now let's talk about what have we learned from building these and a lot more experiences in the last few years. The first one, I think, and among the most important one is it has to be collaborative. VR, especially by itself, is an isolating experience. You put on the headset, only you can see what you are seeing. If you talk about it, it doesn't make sense to the people outside of that experience in the same room with you. And that, you feel isolated, but it also doesn't work well in the meeting, the dynamics of the meeting. It just feels like you're somewhere else in that meeting, and it blocks construction and flow of ideas. So we've gone to a point now that by default, we build shared experiences. So for example, if you're using our platform, and let's say you modeled this room and created a project called JW Marriott, and you shared it with 3 other people. You did not invite them, you did not join a session, you just went into that space, and somebody else decided to, at the same time, completely independently decide they want to walk through that same space, and they load the same project. You will be networked together. You can see each other, you can talk to each other through voice over IP. So it's called, like, literally calling it shared by default. That means no creating of sessions, no inviting people. It behaves like physical spaces. If I walk into this room and you walk into this room at the same time, we will see each other. We can decide to ignore each other, we can decide to communicate with each other, and it's the same behavior we have built in. So by default, all our experiences are networked. They have voice over IP built in, so you can communicate. And this has worked out really well. Like just pretty much yesterday, we have a potential client in Singapore who wanted to walk through one of our spaces. And I invited him to that. And then, 10 minutes before we had agreed on a meeting. 10 minutes before that, I was just in the space, just, hanging out. And he joined as well. And I knew he joined, and we started talking as if, we had just like you would be in the same virtual space together. It works out really well if you always think of collaboration when you're designing this these experiences. Now this one is an interesting one. This is something we've learned over time. One of the key problems we feel enterprises face in adopting XR is that they, even today, think about it as a medium of communication, and that's all. So they think about it as if they were creating a video experience. So a lot of time we get inquiries from companies that ask questions like, how many seconds do you think this VR experience should be? And would you be doing the script, and what are the camera angles? We do animation as well. We do a lot of content. So we get that feeling that, okay, they are thinking of it as a one-off, create a VR experience like you would create a video and then move on. That works, I guess, but it's not awesome. That's not the way to think about it. Think about XR as a set of capabilities that that is given to your company and how best you can utilize it. So we really think about it as a complete life cycle experience. So especially in the AEC space, you start designing your 3D space very early. And it evolves, and its final form is the actual physical building that you can go and feel and touch. Right? Now, if you had an XR platform that could stay along with that, so you could very early use it for investor marketing where you don't have the design finalized, but you have a look and feel of what you want this space to be. You can start using it for marketing to your investors and validation among your key clients. When you get to the next stage where you have teams building out these spaces, then you can use it for design reviews. When you go to the next stage, the design is finalized, now the construction is about to start, you have this content ready that you can use it for sales and marketing and start doing pre-sales as well. So the same platform or same experience, if done well, can go through the entire life cycle of your 3D content and give you much better return for your investments in creating that experience. However, to make that happen, you have to separate the content from the software. In a lot of cases, and in our early days as well, we used to have experiences that were tailored to a content. So if the content needed to be changed, we would have to update the app as well. And which basically means now you have to reinstall that app on your devices. If you think of iOS devices or a HoloLens device, that's not easy to do. So a lot of time people therefore would just build one-time experiences and then not update it because the cost of updating was pretty large. So we've worked pretty hard onto our platform to keep them independent. And right now all our experiences ship where the content is separated from the code, so you can always rev content without having to reinstall the app. You launch the app the next time, the app detects that the code has been updated, pulls down the code. The content has been updated, pulls down the content, and now you are in the new content and you can walk through it. No new app installs needed. This allows us to reach our next level of value to our clients. Now let's imagine Microsoft sold PowerPoint and said, well, every time you change the deck, you have to give me money. Because that's what VR is right now in a lot of cases. If you want to update the content, you have to invite that company back, make the changes, have them rebuild the app and send it. And that's why people don't make changes. We have heard this n number of times from our clients that we don't want to call you every time we want to make changes to our models. We don't want to call you every time we have a design review and changes need to be made. You have to teach us how to do it. You have to teach us how to fish. So content updates should be free. We should get out of, as agencies, we are trying to get out of that business where we are charging for content update. Instead, we train our users as to how to make those content changes themselves, upload it into our cloud, and have the platform give you the experience in this newly updated content. There is no perfect hardware. Everybody has their own preference. As an anecdote, we had a client approach us. They wanted to build a HoloLens experience for their client. It was a great experience. It was again an outdoor experience where you could feel like you were on this, cliff, and you could see the water, you could see mountains away from it. You felt like you were there. And they needed it, you to be able to place items in that outdoor space. We built it. It turned out really well. I would wear it, and I would feel like I'm transformed into that location. We shipped it to them. They took it to the client, and the client looked at the HoloLens and said, I will never wear that device. We've seen that happen. People don't like headsets. Maybe it's hygiene reasons. Maybe they feel that it makes them look dorky. Whatever reason, they will not wear it. And so we went back to the drawing board. We created a PC experience that their client was a gamer, so he loved the Xbox controller, so we let them move around the space using the Xbox controller. But there is no one perfect hardware. There are people who are very happy putting up a mobile device and walking through it as if they're walking through a space, and there are people for whom that completely breaks the illusion, and they want to be in the headset. So supporting as many platforms as possible is great, and here I'll give a shout out to Unity. They have done an awesome job being cross-platform and has helped us a lot in building our platform really efficiently by building it on top of Unity. In the early days, we used to have this debate of how to achieve this balance between an experience that's wow, that gets people excited, but it's not simple, and on the other hand, having a simple experience that does not have the wow element. So, for example, you saw how many of you tried the AR tips experience here in Unity? You download the app, not many, all right. It's great. You have the app, you put it on this marker, and this creature comes out of it, and that's awesome. But now try showing that to your family at home. If you don't have the marker, best of luck. That experience doesn't work. So what we've done is we have embraced both. So for all our experiences now, we give you a marker experience that you can run in your sales and marketing center because you know you will have markers there. The markers are pretty much stuck to the tables. People come and put up their iPad and they can see that experience. But in the same app, you go home, you can decide, I don't want to have the marker, and we will just use ARKit or ARCore and place it on any flat surface like a table and get that same experience. So you can't choose the balance, you have to do both. Last insight. XR is still new. People don't understand how to use it. People they don't have patterns that they've built over time as to how the interaction should behave. Like with mobile, everybody gets it. I can scroll, I can swipe, I can press and hold to delete. You've built these patterns over time. XR, it's very new. Most people don't even know how to wear a headset. So if you're building these XR experiences, it is very important that you think about how will you roll it out to your clients. If you send them the build and say, and ship them the hardware, it will not work. Majority of them will fail at the first step of installing that app that can work with the headset. So what we have started to do now is if it's a domestic client, we actually schedule visits to go there. We take the hardware, we load the apps, we take the hardware with us, we go there, we train them how to use it. If it is for an event that they are launching and they want to have demos for those events, we make sure that they know how to give the demos, we make them give it to us. So we spend a significant amount of time in making sure that they know how to use it. It is very important. Otherwise, no matter how good your project is, it will not get used. Let's talk a little bit about Altura. This is a platform we have built pretty much based on the insights that I talked about. Key features, it's shared by default. You install this platform on your devices, and the device can now connect to our cloud, which is running in Azure, and download the content. Content are right now Unity asset bundles, so you have to create them, upload it, and then we download it and we can make that work. It works across a range of devices. We support Windows Mixed Reality, so we support Windows Mixed Reality headsets like the Samsung Odyssey. We support HoloLens, we support Windows itself, so you can be on a desktop or a PC or or a laptop and just be navigating through the space. We also support iOS and Android, so you can basically be in any of these devices and be networked together in the content that you have uploaded. In terms of life cycle, you have to create content. That typically is done in 3ds Max. You export it as an FBX. You import it into Unity, and you create an asset bundle out of this. This is something we are going to automate in the future, where you can upload an FBX and we will create an asset bundle for you in our cloud. But what we've realized right now is, as we've talked to our pilot clients, they're pretty happy working in Unity and saying, yeah, we know how to do asset bundles, we understand that. So that's why this feature is kind of dropped lower on our priority list. Once you have it uploaded, you can decide whether this experience is public, like if you want to market it, then it kind of gets available on any of our devices that run Altura, and the next time any of our users launch Altura, it will automatically pull your content and let people experience it. You can also send an email to your clients with a link, and they tap on that link, it will open up the app and take them to that particular project. Or you can decide this is not a public project, this is not something I want to share with the world, but this is something I want to collaborate on with people in my company. And you can send invites to certain people, and only they will be able to collaborate with you. I'm sorry, they will be able to download and then collaborate with you. And of course, anything you upload works across all the devices that we support. And I'm going to give you a short video of an experience that we built on our framework. This was built for Microsoft. It's their flagship store in New York. And again, you will notice the familiar patterns of Dollhouse and how we use Dollhouse to get a sense of the scale. Also navigation, you can teleport using the Dollhouse. And the other thing I want you to focus on is the visual quality of this experience. This is a pretty large experience that we have managed to build and host into a HoloLens. And anybody who's worked with the HoloLens knows that it is more like a mobile device in terms of its computing and graphic processing power. You see the view outside? That's actually the view you would see if you were in that store on Fifth Avenue. So we've done on-site photography and created a 360 panorama that we place around the experience. So you kind of really feel as if you're in that store. All right. Now let's spend just a few minutes talking about what we see coming up. So what we realized is when we make these VR experiences, or I should say XR experiences, and host them on Azure, we are actually moving these 3D spaces into the cloud. Currently, we let you visualize these spaces, we let you collaborate and basically do shared walkthroughs. But that's just the first step. Once they are in the cloud, you can use them for many other things. And by the way, we have like 10,000 spaces that we have designed, from airports to malls to hospitals to schools to office spaces to condo buildings. We have all of these, in our repository. Over time, we want to move all of them to the cloud and use them for these more advanced scenarios. So where are we seeing traction coming up? Training is huge. Training in context of the space you are in is a great opportunity for VR or XR. We're building an experience for an airline company where the attendants would wear the headset and feel like they are in an actual airplane. And then they can go through their own trainings about how to do normal operations, but also do emergency operations. Today, they do these trainings by they actually have a real model of a plane that the attendants go in to do the training. That's great, but it's not very scalable. Again, they're not trying to replicate it, or they're not trying to replace it. What they want to do is they want to scale it by adding this VR training on top of it. So people go through the VR training first, and that makes it much more efficient when you're going through the training in the actual airplane model itself. Similarly, we had early discussions, I don't know what happened to that project, about one of the construction companies that we work with was building a nuclear plant. Now, they were also spending millions of dollars building a mock-up of that nuclear plant because for obvious reasons, they don't want to train people in the actual plant. They want to train people in the model, in the mock-up. Having a VR experience that adds to that at a really small cost would help them scale that out a lot more. The second scenario that we think will get more traction in the future, especially as people think about keeping their 3D design up to date and putting it on into XR, is it can help with maintenance of these buildings. It can help them understand how this wall was built, what was behind the wall, what was the time difference between those two construction phases. So it can get you a lot more information about maintenance than before. And the third one where we are starting really early level discussions is traffic analysis. So we've modeled a fair amount of retail stores. So imagine if you have these stores in the cloud, you can run Unity agents through them by the thousands and see how they move around the space, how they look around, track where their eyeballs are, and therefore track or build up a heat map of how people are walking through the store and where they are looking at, because that helps them decide placement of product. This is a much more complex exercise because you've got to train these agents to behave like people walking through the retail stores, but if you build enough constraints, that is something possible. That's something we are starting to discuss with some of our clients. So that's what I want to leave you with. This is just a starting. We have a lot of, XR by definition is 3D, and the most 3D thing in the universe is spaces. So these two, the AEC category kind of merges really well with XR. We're just starting, and there's a pretty large road to cover. And with that, I'm done, and we have 3 minutes. I finished earlier than I thought I would. We have 3 minutes, so if anybody has questions, I would be happy to take them. Would appreciate if you could go to one of the microphones.
I have 2 questions. It sounds like your app is designed to show a single property at a time. You said that when the property is updated, the next time they load it, it's there. Is there a possibility of having a menu that the user can pick from, and can that menu be dynamically changed?
Yes. We have 2 levels. We have projects, so you can decide this is a project that I'm doing for this hotel in Los Angeles, and this is a project that I'm building a hospital in Atlanta. When within projects, we have a concept of spaces. So within the hotel in Los Angeles, you can have the lobby area, the swimming pool area, the rooms themselves, and then in the other project, you can have spaces around operation rooms, etc. So you have a hierarchy that helps you, navigate these spaces, and you control who can see it at a project level. Okay.
And it looks like that all of your examples are pre-visualizations that come from CAD data or renderings like that. The good news is we can absolutely use that. The bad news is we have about 1.5 million properties that really exist, and what we have is like Matterport scans rather than CAD drawings. Right. Can you deal with Matterports or 360s or photogrammetry?
We do photogrammetry a lot. So a lot of our retail spaces are actually spaces that already exist. So the last video I played about the Microsoft store, that already exists. So we support, we do the modeling ourselves, so we support that. So if you have spaces that you want us to model, we can do it, and we've done that for years. If you have already modeled it in Revit or any other files, we can work with that. We can either take that and convert them into asset bundles and upload it for you, or we can train your team onto how to do that.
Well, the problem is with 1.5 million, you don't want to go back and retroactively model it. Can you deal with an existing, like a Matterport 3D scan?
Yes, but Matterport scans, unfortunately, the way they work is they take 360 photos from some locations, right, but they don't really give you a complete 3D model. Right. So your ability to visualize it and walk completely through it is going to be limited. We are investigating, just like you saw in the outdoor space, where you can teleport from one location to another, having that kind of an experience for Matterport, so you can teleport to where they have taken the pictures and still get a sense of what, you cannot walk through, but you can teleport and look around.
But that's not something you support at this moment, right?
Not at this moment.
Okay.
But that's something that is on our roadmap.
Yeah, that's what we need. Thanks.
Hi, I like the talk. Thanks for it. So you talked a lot about shared experiences. Yep. So my question is, do you have experience creating shared experiences across devices, you know, one HoloLens,
Yes.
one AR Core, AR Kit device?
Yep.
And if so, how did you implement that from a networking infrastructure side and a B, alignment side?
Right. So on the networking side, we actually have implemented our own networking stack based on HTTP because that bypasses the firewall issues and the router issues. Everybody, you know, all of them understand HTTP. So we've gone away from UNet and other networking scenarios and just have our own, literally a web scale networking stack. On the on the alignment issue currently, and we are waiting for the platforms to mature, but what we've seen right now, the best method is the more direct, where you place markers on 2 spots, and we use that to align everybody.
Yep.
And that just works best. We are trying to see if there are shared networking where anchors can be shared. That's been iffy so far.
Yep. Makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
There's no other questions, sorry.
Sure.
Where'd you get your company's name from, 216?
So that's an interesting one. It should have been Studio 206 because we are in Seattle and that's the area code. And a lot of our, you know, in our early emails, we get confused with that.
Because I'm from area code 216, so that's why I wanted.
The founder of the company used to go to University of Washington, and during the summer he kind of started a company, an entrepreneur, you know, started his own company, and the university gave him a room to work out of it, and that room was called Studio 216. So he decided he's going to name that every company he forms, I guess, after that room.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, we are out of time. I will be outside if anybody has any follow-up conversations, etc. Thank you.